Good evening, everybody. Welcome, Buffaloes fans, to another edition of the official Pilot Mound podcast, episode 8 of the Buffaloes podcast here on G Show Productions. I'm your host, Graeme, the G Show Forsyth. Glad to be here on this Thursday night. As you saw to begin the episode on screen there, our promotion graphic, and on there are 3 sponsors. This episode, as always, brought to you by Make Canada Fasteners and Tools. Locations in Brandon and Winnipeg is where you can go visit their stores. Your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. Check out their website for more information about their tools before you want to go make a decision in their store if you want to buy something at midcanadafasteners.shop. We're brought to you by Terrico, too, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years. Visit their website for more information on their products at terrico.ca. And, of course, Goaltenders, your goalie's personal video review service, brought to you by his website up there as well. And Gordy Tumilson, goalies.ca is where you can check out this service and potentially link up with Gordie Tumilson, a guest in this episode. And in this episode, I'm going to be joined by 3 guests. So Gordy's going to be joining the show in the middle part of it. Later on, I'm going to have a head coach on the show, which you guys have seen who's going to be on already, but I'll announce him later on. Hint, U17 Buffaloes coach. But it's Shaina Bannister first off, first year U18 female prep forward joining the show to talk about what her season's been like so far, her experience at Pilot Mound, as well as what's to come. You're watching the Buffaloes podcast. Stick around for my interview with Shaina Bannister, first year forward rookie, on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast coming up next. It's number 92 of the female U18 Prep Buffaloes, Shaina Bannister, joining this edition of the Pilot Mound Hockey Academy podcast. Shayna, you and the team had a chance to have a week off of games, having a chance to rest. What's the weekend off been like, getting ready to take on your next opponents?
It's been really good. We've had some really good practices and definitely preparing for this big weekend we have ahead of us. Our team headed down to Bemidji to our coach's old stomping grounds to get a tour of the school and get to see them play against Ohio. So that was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I had a chance to feature that last week on the show. Seems like you and the rest of the team had a chance to have some fun, take a look at a university school and see how it operates in terms of a hockey school. Talk about, what that experience was like, getting to truly witness that and see all that in person.
It was really good, especially for older girls who are starting to make decisions on where they want to go. Just being able to see the school and like the arena, their dressing room, and see them play. It was really good for everyone.
Does it kind of start to intrigue your interests in terms of what schools you could be looking at down the line in terms of where you'd like to continue your hockey at?
Yeah, it does. Like their rink is really nice. Like their whole campus is very good. So it's definitely considered.
For you, you've had a chance to play a number of games now along with the rest of this team, and your first season at Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. You're from Manitou, Manitoba. What went into you making the decision to take your talents to Pilot Mound Hockey Academy to be a Buffalo for this season?
Yeah, so before I came here, I skated with them in the atmosphere and the team dynamics here was just great. So that really intrigued me because I wanted a nice positive environment to be able to grow as a hockey player and bring my skills here.
Yeah, I've had a chance to, showcase a lot of videos here on this podcast, and most of them are featuring the girls' team. Seems like you're always, in the mix and the activities, being a pretty energetic personality in the room. Is that what Shaina Bannister brings to the Pilot Mound Hockey Academy Buffaloes in that aspect? Is just a positive, energetic personality?
Yeah, I would say like very positive, energetic, and I think I bring a good work ethic along with that.
Well, along with that work ethic, you've been able to be top 3 on this team in points so far this season. Can you talk about what's gone into the success for you personally to start off and having some success so far this year against new competition in the CSSHL and the other teams this Buffaloes team has faced off against?
Definitely our practices. I've been able to play a lot more with my confidence, and I'm able to grow more because every coach wants everyone and me to get better. So that helps a lot. And this is my first year in the CSSHL, so that definitely helps.
Yeah, you feel like that's been able to make this transition even easier going over to Pilot Mound, knowing you faced off against competition like this before?
Yeah, so I have a really good feel for the whole league and every team that we play, so I feel like this really helped too.
What's that been like being able to provide that leadership to, I guess that knowledge to this year's Buffaloes team in terms of the girls that haven't had a chance to play at the level before, helping them as best as you can to, adjust and try to get them up to speed at this level?
Yeah, just really pushing them and just showing them like this is the teams that we're gonna face. This is what we're gonna have to do, and every girl has been on board, and it's been really good.
Obviously, like you just mentioned, you've had a chance to spend a year in the CSSHL already. What's it been like being able to experience, the traveling, the academy lifestyle throughout these 2 years you've been in the CSSHL so far?
It's been pretty good. It gives me a good feel for like my future hockey and just being able to have that time management with school and hockey and doing homework on the road and making sure I'm up to speed with everything.
How's this experience in Pilot Mound so far this year? Maybe been different from other places you've played in, of course, coming and playing in a small town, playing with girls you haven't played with before. But there's been some behind the scenes drama with this team that we won't get into specifics here. But what's that all been like being able to, come into this team and being able to handle that and try to rise above that a bit?
It's been pretty good. Every girl is like, "Hey, we're here to play hockey. We'll play hockey and we'll get through this as a team." So that really helped everyone stick together and make sure that we get better as a team.
Have you felt that, and I feel like I've asked this question before to one of your teammates, but I'll ask it again. Do you feel like, those moments of adversity so far have been able to make this group potentially maybe come closer to together with each other in that way, bonding even more so?
Yeah, I think so because I think it just everyone had to come together to be able to get over it and through it together. So really good,
Well,
really
as a
good.
season, yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, as the season has gone along, this team has gotten better in games, not getting, the most wins, but getting a win every here and now, here and then, as I should say. But a lot of 1 goal, 2 goal losses. Nice to see that things are improving, I'm sure. Where have you found that this team has taken its biggest strides in terms of being more competitive and being closer in games?
Just definitely our like work ethic in practice and in the gym. Like everyone's like, yes, we want to do this. We want to get better. So that really helps the whole team. Just all everyone gets better and we're more competitive against all the teams.
You feel like that work ethic and that compete that this Buffaloes team brings will start translating into more success and maybe even more wins as the season goes along, as you girls start to get more and more used to the competition as well?
Yeah, it definitely will.
You got a new coach that's helping out Kurt Fortney and Jared Potato, who had just joined the team recently. Have you had a chance to spend time with Jared at all as a team, getting to know him so far? What's your first thoughts on the new coach in Pilot Mound?
Jared hasn't arrived yet, so we haven't got to have a practice with him or yet or anything.
Oh, he hasn't arrived yet. I thought he would have arrived by now. Heard the news broke last week, so yeah, we reported on it here. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome for you girls to get a new face, a new coach into the mix. But for you, obviously you've played in the CSSHL last season. It's your second year this year. Hoping to improve as a team more so as the season goes along. But are there any personal goals that you'd like to achieve by the end of this season in terms of something that you'd like to accomplish?
Just definitely help the team get more wins, help build up the team, and I'm hoping to make my provincial team, like Team Manitoba, this year for the next games. And
Right on.
yeah.
Right on. I guess I'll ask this question. I mean, there's so much accessibility in terms of where you can train and, the facility you're at in the CSSHL, especially at Pilot Mound with the gyms they have, with their new dorms, and now with their hockey rink already. But have you felt like, this time of being able to work on skills like this is going to help develop your game in other ways that you haven't been able to develop beforehand in your time playing hockey?
Yeah, it definitely will. Every coach here wants you to get better, and every coach is really willing to help. So that helps a lot with getting better. You go up to ask the coach something, and they'll give you feedback, and you'll work on it, and it'll work. So that's really good.
This team heads out to Ann Arbor Ice Cube in Ann Arbor tomorrow to face off against, or I guess in a few days from now, to take on the Big B Coffee AAA team. Interesting name there, but also taking on teams like Boston Vantage, the New England Pioneers. How exciting is it once again to go up against, competition that this team hasn't faced off against before, but competition not from the country here in Canada?
Yeah, everyone's super excited. We're so ready to go into this weekend, and we're gonna go in with confidence and hopefully come out with a couple wins.
Well, hopefully, this girls' team is able to come out with a couple of wins. It would be awesome to see Shaina Bannister, number 92 of the Pilot Mound Hockey Academy Buffaloes U18 female prep team, joining me on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Shayna, best of luck to you and the rest of the team coming up this weekend, and keep enjoying your time in Pilot Mound.
Thank you.
And Shaina Bannister joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast for episode 8, brought to you by goaltenders McKenna Fasteners and Tools and Terrico. And yeah, just great to get to talk to Shaina. Really great personality she has, and obviously it's translated over to success for her this season with her teammates, bonding with them and being able to be top 3 in the team in points. And yeah, for this U18 female team, obviously a lot of work ahead of them to, in terms of room to get better, because there is so much season left. But as we'll come to talk with Gordy Tumelson about a team that has to work very hard for their success, and they have been working hard in games so far this year. But as you saw there, as we cut from the interview from Shayna to me just talking like I am now, there was a highlight that popped up. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but I'm pretty sure it will now. This is from the past week in the CSSHL, and it was Carson Carroll's and his teammate being able to crack the top 10 in highlights of the week in the CSSHL. So let's take a look at the first one here, which is number 8, Carson Carroll's beautiful move to poke check in on the goaltender, dangling him for a beautiful goal there, as that came in at number 8, and just showing his versatility in terms of what he can do, not just on the defensive side of the puck, which he ended up excelling to start that playoff to earn himself that break, but once he ends up getting that break, he can make the goaltender pay in so many ways, whether that's with the shot or a dangle, forehand, backhand, like we saw from Carson Carroll's there, sucking out the goaltender. But going into play number 5, it was, like I said, Carson Carroll's and his teammate in Benson Hurst. Beautiful move from Hurst, sliding it by the defender, locating Carson Carroll's, who jumps up into the offensive zone and makes the Rink Hockey Academy goaltender play. And Benson Hurst is another high-level player for Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. As you saw there, I'm sure he defends at a very high level, as Rick McConnell talked to me about how he's been a standout on this team. You'll hear from Rick later, but he's also dynamite with the puck, like you saw there, making a slick move by the rink player, locating his defense partner in Carson Carroll's, who having that confidence and trust in each other with their skill to be able to be that aggressive and jump up the confidence reel there, and Carson Carroll's putting it in the net confidently. hats off to those two on cracking the top 10 plays of the week in the CSSHL in their lone game against the Rink Hockey Academy. And I got Benson Hurst's stats now. He's second on the team, just below a point per game at 23 points in 24 games played. Carson Carroll's leading the team with 25 points in 18 games played. I had a chance to ask Rick McConnell about them. You'll hear from him later, like I said. But up next is Gordie Tumilson to talk about the past games for the two teams that played in the academy from the past week in the U18 male team and the U17 male prep team, as well as talking about the upcoming weekends for all teams that will be in action. We talk about the success that the U18 males had, the game that the U17s had not faring so well in the end, losing 7-3 against the Rink Hockey Academy. But Gordie's going to be here to break it down, as well as previewing what's coming up for the female team, as well as the U15s here on the Buffaloes podcast for episode 8, brought to you by Goaltenders, McKenna Fasteners and Tools, and Terrico. Gordie Tumelson up next. Joining me on this edition, making his weekly appearance, is Gordie Tumilson. Gordie, great to have you back on this week. Two teams were in action for the Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, one of them only playing one game due to a cancellation on Saturday. How have things been with you, though, first off, as I always like to ask you?
Okay. I guess I've been slightly ill. I don't know. I've had a little bit of a chest thing and a little bit of a throat thing, but beyond that, hasn't kept me down. So here I am doing my weekly thing and about to Pilot Mound. And we golfed this morning at Shooter's Golf Course, but it was indoors, of course, on the simulator. And we played a nice warm golf course in Kapalua, Hawaii. So there you go.
Oh, that's fun, Gordie. Did you have fun playing on the virtual golf?
We do. We have there's four of us that play, and it's not one good thing said about each other through the whole match. So it's a lot of calling the other guy names, and we enjoy it, and we go home and we're tired.
Well, I don't want to reveal one of those names, maybe ask about something that's a bit inappropriate, but
Yeah.
we'll leave that behind. We'll talk
Yep.
about the U18 male team. They went over to the States playing the NAPHL tournament, their first showcase in this tournament of the year, and they lost their first game but won the last three. Strong weekend from the U18s, and like we mentioned last week, Gordie, a tournament where this team fared pretty successfully last year.
Yeah, pretty much the same record, and if I remember correctly, which may not be the case, was pretty close. Anyway, yeah, we had some success last year and real good success this year. The teams aren't as strong down there, and the prep teams, and so we were, fortunate to meet some guys at some teams that maybe aren't quite as good as we are, and we took it to them. So our goalies were on the low side of the shots on goal against, and that was always a good thing. And I think we got a shutout in one, and a couple 2 goals in one, and a couple games, and yeah. So losing the first game and then winning 3 in a row. Thanks very much. The kids bused to Minneapolis, flew to New Hampshire, and then actually flew to Boston and bused to New Hampshire and played the games, and then did the routine. They got home at 5 a.m. in the morning, much like the Winnipeg Jets might have done, in one of their road trips. So it's kind of a busy weekend for the team, but yeah, some success, some smiles, and knowing that they're not we're not the worst team in North America. There's guys that are not quite as good as we are, and that's okay too.
Yeah, and interesting to see that, even though this team had success, this program, specifically the U18s, had success last year in the NAPHL. A lot of new returning players this year, or a lot of new players are playing on this year's team. Only one returnee for the U18 Buffaloes. So how huge is that, getting this new experience, having success there, and being able to have this many positives after such a successful weekend when things have been, blowout territory for this team in the past little while against?
Yeah, again, I think I mentioned all the smiles. Yeah, they're feeling pretty good about good things. Now they're not fools. They're coming back to the CSSHL where things are not quite as good. But anytime it's positive is a good thing for a young, any kind of a player, but any kind of an athlete gets something positive in their game and in their team, and winning is really sort of a nice thing to do. So Yeah, that's all good, and that helps, to continue the development program right through to Christmas. So we've got a month before the kids go away, from for back home for 2 or 3 weeks, and they'll do that, and and but they'll feel good about this, and that'll make practices easier, and playing the rest of the season out up to Christmas a little easier. Travel will be a little easier. So it's heavy on the heart when you lose it all the time. It's a lot easier when you win a few games.
Yeah, and for sure coming back to a much tougher CSSHL next time this Buffaloes team plays, which for right now on the schedule is December 1st against OHA Edmonton. 3 games coming up at Pilot Mound on that weekend, playing 3 games straight on the 2nd against Northern Alberta Extreme, and then against OHA Edmonton again. A morning game on that Sunday to finish things off for Pilot Mound in that upcoming weekend. That's still a few weeks away. But Gordie, what's going to be the preparation like for this team? Getting some well-earned time off after such a good weekend, but a lot of tough competition coming up on the first.
Well, yeah, and one of the neat things that we're able to do here at Pilot Mountain, we're close to the U.S. Border, and we're close to places like Bemidji and NDSU and North Dakota State. So the U18 guys are going down to North Dakota to take in a game and do a little visiting down that way, and so they're going to get a kind of a good sense of what the sort of facilities are like down there. That's obviously their very first class, and we know that for sure, and it gives them an idea that this is what it's like sort of in the bigger times, in the big times. So it's always a bit of a teaser, a bit of a way to motivate them a little bit to be better. They get to meet some of the people in charge of that particular program, which is a National Division I NCAA program. And so they get to hear the message of, and the girls got it last week. It was really neat. But they don't pick players; they pick good people. And
Right.
boy, it was a great statement, and that's what these guys will hear. And for the ones that have been good people all the way along, good stuff, they fall right into place. And for the few that have been maybe a little bit not quite as good, they'll hear a different message from the people above that. We've been passing that message along, but when they hear it from the folks that could draft them or pick them for their team, then that makes a big difference. So that'll be a good trip. And then there's some more practice time. We're a development program for each, not just the team, but it's the individual players. And boy, that we don't have the best players. I mean, we know that, and they know that. But they came here, they can spending a lot of money to get better as an individual. That's what these practices that they have are for. The games are kind of like the test for the practices, and so lots of work coming up for them, and working on passing and all the other things that goes on to being a good hockey player.
Yeah, put on that work and get ready for what's going to be a tough weekend coming up. But another opportunity for that U18 group to get better coming up on that weekend of the first. And yeah, speaking of Bemidji, Gordie had a chance to talk to Shaina Bannister earlier on in the episode, and she spoke to that experience, was pretty excited about it. So that's awesome to hear that it had a positive effect on the players here in that firsthand. But for the U17s, they were the other team that was in action for Pilot Mound. They played at the rink training center on the 10th, ended up losing that game 7-3. Ended up having the Saturday game canceled, but Gordie, only one game for them to take away and dissect from this past weekend, going up against a Rink Sports Academy hockey team that was hungry coming in. Talk about what went wrong for Pilot Mound in that game, this U17 team.
I think it was a collective. We didn't show up, although the bodies were there. The heart and the soul and the the intensity. There wasn't much of that. So it was one of those games where nobody in particular played very well. Our goalkeeper felt very badly that his game wasn't good. He thought he may have kept it a bit closer, and even felt that if everybody had picked it up just a notch, we might have won that hockey game, and rightly so. 7-3 isn't a blowout. And we did not play well. I mean, the whole collectively, we just did not play well. Don't know why that happens sometimes. And so you learn from that experience and move on, and that's just what happened.
Yeah, and I mean, for this team, you'd have to think that it's just a blimp in the road for this season because in terms of CSSHL play, Gordy, this team has been one of the big surprises this year. I feel like among people outside of Pilot Mound, and for the first time in a while, this team is over 500 with their record in total. So I know that, for you, you always say it's not about the wins and the losses, but even after that loss, this group has to feel pretty great about themselves this season so far with the young talent that they have on the back end and the returnees they have too.
Sure, I think they're pleased with the success so far. I mean, they're looking at their opponents and going, well, we haven't played necessarily all of the top opponents in the league or very often. So that may be a bit on our side who we've played against, but not you can lose those games too. So if you don't show up, so yeah, you show up, you play your best that you got that night, and this team has been good. I mean, Rick McConnell's been there for 9 years now, coaching on that team. He knows how to play the game. He knows what's expected of the players. He gets them ready for most every game, and they're well coached. With Danny Carroll's being his assistant this year, they're certainly well coached, and they're ready for games. In terms of coach preparation, sometimes the players don't quite get there, but that's okay. They'll do better. But yeah, they're in much better shape than in the past, and we're looking forward to them to continue on some of that success this coming weekend and beyond.
Yeah, this upcoming weekend they'll be playing against the Indigenous Sports Academy. A rivalry's been built up with these two teams, and this age group specifically, since Indigenous Sports Academy has become a school in the CSSHL that can play games. Expect to be hard fought this weekend. Gordy, what are your expectations, or the expectations in general for this U17 team coming up this weekend?
Yeah, we match up great against this team if we play. I think we got a bit more talent. They really try hard, and that's their thing. They've got some good players. The half that aren't quite as talented, and our half that aren't quite as talented, have to play hard. When they don't play hard, we kick their butt. We did the last time in the first game, and then they came out the next day and beat us in Pilot Mound a couple of weeks ago. And so, we know that if we show up and our guys play hard, we've got enough talent to win the hockey games. Our goalies have been pretty good and steady. If we continue that, we're fine. If we let off or take our foot off the pedal a little bit, then those other guys come back, and then they're well deserved for wins that they've got against us this year. So it is a hard fought battle, 2 games on a weekend, and the boys, if they can put 2 good games together, they'll have 4 more points.
Pilot Mound looking to extend their 7 wins to 8 this year in the CSSHL, and maybe even 9 in this upcoming weekend for this U17 group. We're going to take a quick break, Gordy. Then we'll be back to preview the upcoming weekends for the U15s and the U18 females here on the Buffaloes podcast. All right, welcome back to the Buffaloes podcast with analyst Gordy Tumelson here on the Buffaloes podcast, the official Pilot Mound podcast, brought to you by his brand as well at goaltenders. Gordy Tumilson goalies.ca is where you can find that website. But Gordy, we've been talking about the U17s and the U18 male team. We'll talk about the U18 female team now. They were in action earlier today, or they'll be in action tomorrow morning, as I should say, on the 17th. I'm losing my mind here, Gordy. At 11 a.m. in Ann Arbor to take on the Big B Coffee AAA team. They got 5 games coming up on this weekend, jam-packed, double headers tomorrow as well as on Saturday. Talk about what it's going to be like for this U18 team to go out and face off against brand new competition.
This is great for these kids. The girls have never played in this event prior, so it's a first for them, and well deserved for them to get away and play in the States and play some teams that we don't know what they're like, and that's okay. That should get the blood boiling just a little bit more, because you're going to go play the American kids, and there's always a good rivalry between the two countries. And of course, they're proud of who they are and what they've accomplished so far. So, and they want to represent Pilot Mound and Manitoba and Canada as well. So, I think this is going to be an interesting weekend, certainly, and fun one for them. busy, got a lot of games, and we'll see what their conditioning's like. They're not bad, I don't think, and it'll be an experience, no doubt. And then, the one thing we don't talk about enough is that they're going to be recognized by scouts by from all over the northern U.S., mid northern U.S., north, yeah, because they're going to be it's a showcase, and lots of people in their building watching them. So we expect some of our kids to be scouted and hearing from some schools probably, in the next month or so.
Yeah, a great opportunity to play in front of scouts for sure this upcoming weekend in Ann Arbor. You know, for this team, heading into this weekend, talking to Shaina Bannister, seems like she's got full confidence in this group. And even though they have struggled this season, seems like from everyone I've talked to, they do bring that same type of high level of confidence. So coming off of a 3-2 loss against St. Mary's Academy last time out 16 days ago, what do you think this U18 group is going to be looking to build on their play on ice to get even better and try to secure some wins?
Well, it's a work in progress there. We've got a pretty wide range of on the screen here, pretty wide range of capabilities and skills. And so, but everybody tries hard. I mean, that's the one thing that this group has done all season long. They don't quit; they just keep going. And so, even to play St. Mary's to 3-2 is quite a feat. We've done that a couple of times. We've lost, I think, 3 or 4 games in the last little while, 3-2. So we're playing better. We're playing tighter hockey, better defensively. We don't have a bunch of goal scorers. We have to really work hard. We look for chip in goals and kind of deflection goals and rebound goals. Nothing pretty. Just get it in the net somehow. So, but they're going to be tested, and they're going to be able to see that there's teams that in the States that are just as good, maybe not quite as good, maybe a lot better. Now that'll be a good weekend for them. And I should have said earlier, we have a half a dozen girls. I think 4 or 5 girls from the States playing on our team. So, it'll be exciting for them to play in front of a home crowd, if you would. There's nobody from that part of the country, but certainly going to be playing in front of the American flag for a change, and that's always good.
Going to be a special moment for those dozen of Americans on this Buffaloes team. Just speaks about how diverse this program has become in terms of the ratio between people from Manitoba and Canada to the States and other countries. But for those players, along with the rest, like you said, they'll be playing in front of scouts this weekend. Gordy, do you think, obviously, like you said, there's a wide range of talent on this team, and it's not the most talented group, but is that something that, is maybe going to be underrated that the scouts may look at it as the hard working and, determination of this group? Do you think that could catch some scouts' eyes?
Scouts are wonderful. When I say about winning and losing being important, in terms of teams, yes, the team wants to win and you want to do all those things. Get into scouts. No scout or no organization above where we play ever drafts the whole team. They only draft individual players. And so my point is that the players get a chance. But this is why they call these tournaments and these events showcase. Go out and showcase your individual skills. Go out and showcase your heart and your soul. Go out and show how hard you're going to work and never give up and try and do your best. And the scouts will see you at the start of the year, and then they'll look back in February and they'll go find a game where you're playing there and say, I thought that player was going to be better, and boy, she really is. And that's what we look for. And that we forget that those are the people that pick the players. I mean, it's the scouts who identify them, make sure that they're general managers and their player personnel people at universities across North America see the player, get a sense for the player. They do a whole lot of homework on the player. There's a lot of interviews go on behind the scenes that the player doesn't know about. That they go to the schools, they go to the coaches, they go to other people. So it is the scouting that is maybe the most important part of these kinds of events, and we have to remind the kids that, hey, this is important to you, and the people in the stands and watching you on Zoom or whatever they're Flow TV or whatever they're doing is really important to your future. So don't don't let down. Play hard all the time.
Yeah, and especially today, Gordy, where streaming is king in terms of how scouts
Oh,
can watch. So not only for the scouts in attendance is it going to be exciting to take a look at this Pilot Mound team and all the rest that are going to be playing, but also with them tuning in via live stream, which is pretty cool that that's become a common
yeah.
thing nowadays in the amateur hockey world. But talking about the U15s next, Gordy, this is a team that played yesterday against RHA Winnipeg. Not the score that this U15 team wanted, of course, but I mean, can we really blame them? This ranked Hockey Academy Winnipeg team is now 9-3, 78 goals for, 34 against, blown out
Yeah.
Pilot Mound
Elite.
12-2. So yeah,
Yeah.
talk about, any positives to take away from the U15s, nonetheless, though, yesterday, getting 2 goals against a top 2 team.
Actually, 3 goals. We scored 3. Yeah, I think it was 12-3 or something. But we did score 3. So there you go. It's like a field goal. We got, but anyhow, so whatever we got. Yeah, it's never bad to play against better teams because you learn from the watching them. If you or playing against them, you go, oh my God, this guy, how good is this person? How can I be as good as that guy is 2 months or 3 months from now? Because that's the guy you're chasing to get drafted. You're trying to get drafted into the dub or into one of the junior A programs. Those are the teams that those are the kids you got to watch and try and learn to beat, learn to challenge. And if you're not motivated for anything else, try and become as good as that guy is. And so that's the good part. No, there's not much good about a 12-3 loss, other than the fact you played in the game and you got an experience. Our goalies do not look forward to those games, except they don't want to be at the other end when they're getting 10 shots. They'd rather be in the 60 shot end. So yeah, goalies are weird people, right? They'd rather get the poop kicked out of them over here rather than sit there and be almost idle throughout the whole game. It's no fun, right? So the fun is lots of shots. The bad part, of course, is too many goals. But it's never a bad thing to play those games, get them over with, and we move on.
Yeah, and taking a look at the shots in this game, 73-22 for Rink Hockey Academy Winnipeg. For this U15 team, though, Gordy, getting the start in net, well, both goalies ended up playing, and Gavin Hildebrand and Michael Kolbaba. Talk about, their performances up until this point in the season, Gordy, how pleased you've been with their play so far. Facing a lot of shots in this game, obviously, but just overall throughout this season of the U15 program.
Yeah, we haven't been surprised at all by our two guys. They've both been really good. Michael's a big guy, probably a little bit of skating work. He needs a bit of skating work. He's the one guy out of the 8 goalies that we have. He doesn't have any spring or summer ice he lives in Peace River, Alberta. So the closest is Grand Prairie, and it's 2.5 hour drive. So he doesn't get to go to summer ice and practice and do a lot of movement skills and whatnot. So he's a big growing guy, and his movement is a bit off, but we're working on those things to make him better. He has tremendous potential and a wonderful attitude. So those two things, and the fact that he's getting ice time every day, he's getting better, he's getting stronger, he's wonderful. Gavin Hildebrand is a 2010 kid. I mean, he's a 13-year-old, not a 14-year-old. So he'll have another year in U15. And Gavin's maybe what we would like to think is a kind of a special kid in terms of his play, his aptitude about goalie, his hockey sense, his goalie sense. Got again a great attitude. We were lucky to get him this year from Morden, and so both kids have been great attitude. They work hard like crazy. They don't like to be scored on. Doesn't matter if it's 1 goal or 12 goals. They just they get it when they're playing against really good teams. But we have not been disappointed for 1 second with either of those two guys.
Yeah, and I say it all the time. I feel like it's something I'm gonna keep saying here on this show. If there's anything that's ever been a positive and a consistent positive within the Pilot Mound Hockey Academy in terms of the play, it always does seem to be the goaltending and Gordy Tumelson being a part of that. But he'll always compliment the players and their talent, of course, which they got to go out and stop the pucks, right? So,
Yep.
Gordy, for this U15 team, they are going to not not be playing in the CSSHL this weekend in terms of gameplay, but they'll be playing in a tournament in Medicine Hat, Alberta, starting off tonight at 8:30 p.m. Alberta time against the SEAC Tigers, playing the Prince Albert Pirates tomorrow at 11. Alberta time, which is Mountain Time, and against the Thompson Blazers on the 17th, so later tomorrow night, taking on the Blazers at 8 p.m. So, Gordy, taking on competition that's obviously going to pose some challenges, but not quite on the same level as the CSSHL. Talk about what this team is looking to achieve coming up tonight against the Tigers and tomorrow's doubleheader.
Yeah, we know that the in Alberta, BC in particular, both have great AAA and academy programs. They're bigger populations by 3 and 4 times the size of Manitoba, and of course we look further afield for players, and we're not able to kind of secure as many of the top end guys. But the AAA program's probably just slightly below the it's slightly below the elite teams like the Rink and Nax and those guys. So, but it's great competition. I mean, we even up with them, pretty much with these guys, and so we're able to kind of figure out where we stand after we play these 4 games in terms of the kind of hockey that we're both playing and what level we're playing at. Gives us a chance to win some games. Again, we're not always playing the elite guys. We got a chance to win some games. Forces our guys to play with heart, desire, and with the best skill they've got going right now. And then, of course, we again look at that 3 or 4 months from now and say, okay, have we improved from these games in this tournament to the ones in February and March? And typically we do, and we're pleased with that. So we're looking forward to these games as a measuring stick.
After this weekend, this U15 team won't be playing again until the 2nd, so a great opportunity for them this weekend to build some positive vibes in the win column potentially heading into that few-week break. Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach, marketing director, man of many hats here on Pilot Mound, playing analyst again, or analyst, I should say, again tonight on the Buffaloes podcast. Gordie, until we do this again next Thursday, you take care.
Thanks, Graeme. Great to
Gordie Tumelson joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, the Pilot Mound podcast, brought to you, of course, by his brand and Goaltenders, your goalie's personal video review service. Be sure to check it out. And I kept saying analysis. He was playing analyst in this episode. Just want to clarify that one last time. But yeah, in terms of what's coming up next for the teams in Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, of course, the U18s, they get about, a 2-week break, 14 days off before they play at home against OHA Edmonton. As for the U15s, they will be, of course, going to Medicine Hat, Alberta. This, starting today, they've already started, of course, playing right now. We'll get score updates at the end of this episode for that game if we can against the SEAC Tigers. They have a doubleheader tomorrow against the Prince Albert Pirates to start off at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and then playing their second game of the day, like you see there, at 8 p.m. Mountain Time against the Thompson Blazers, and also playing Saturday and Sunday potentially. That is to be determined. You can catch all the action on Flow Sports. As for the U18 female team, of course, they'll be going to Ann Arbor to play in a tournament against teams like the Big B Coffee AAA team, the Boston Advantage, New England Pioneers, Carolina Junior Hurricanes, and Middlesex Bears. They have a loaded weekend ahead. 2 games on Saturday, 2 games tomorrow, and a game to finish off early in the morning on Sunday on the 19th. All those games can be caught on Live Barn. And, of course, for the U17s, they're the only team that will be in CSSHL action this upcoming weekend. They will be in Saskatoon to take on the Indigenous Sports Academy. Now, for Pilot Mound, they have a chance in this weekend, if they're able to get 2 wins to potentially jump over the Rink Hockey Academy Kelowna Red team, as well as Prairie Hockey Academy, who currently sit at 26 points. Pilot Mound is at 8th with 23 points, 7-2-1-0-0-1 this year. They're taking on an Indigenous Sports Academy who, like Gordie Tumilson said, plays this Buffaloes team hard, but not that great in the standings. 30th in the CSSHL U17 division with a 3-7 record, 28 goals for, 44 goals against. So we'll see what happens this weekend for the U17s at Pilot Mound. And speaking of them, I had a chance to speak with head coach Rick McConnell yesterday, or 2 days ago now, I guess, to talk about the past loss for the team, as well as talking about what it's been like coaching this year's Buffaloes, their offense being led by Benson Hurst and Carson Carroll's, what that's been like to watch them, and the upcoming weekend that this team has against the Indigenous Sports Academy. You're watching the Buffaloes podcast here on G Show Productions. Rick McConnell, head coach of the U17s, coming up next. So Rick McConnell, head coach of the U17 Male Prep Buffaloes, joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Rick, the team coming off of a recent loss of 7-3 last week against the Rink Hockey Academy Winnipeg, or the Rink Sports Academy Winnipeg. Go into what went down in that one for this Buffaloes team to come away with that loss.
Well, we didn't put our best foot forward that night. I thought the first game we played the rink, we played really well. We came out and played the way we needed to be, but we came in there, we were flat. We just didn't have the jump, and I knew the rink would come after us beating in the first game. We were flat. We just weren't sharp. And it was funny. Our whole lineup seemed to struggle. We played with them for the first period, but they got a break, got a goal, and kind of got on us, and things just kind of unraveled, and they took it to us, to be honest, in the third period.
You know, in the past, when I've had conversations with you, one thing you've always been looking for from your U17 groups has been a full, consistent 60-minute effort. It seems like you've gotten quite a bit of that this year, but sometimes it has taken a dip in that regard. But can you talk about how things have been in that aspect so far throughout this pretty successful start to the 2023-2024 campaign?
Yes, definitely. We've had a really good start, to be honest. I've been quite pleased with the effort. We're building, we're getting stronger every night. These kids are learning how to play, and my expectations and Danny's expectations. And I challenge these kids every night, and I expect hard work and 60 minutes of play. And for the most part, I've really been getting that. I'm encouraged with what's happening. We're not going to win every night. I understand that. We're going to have ups and downs, and I'm hoping that Winnipeg game was a learning lesson for us. We talked lots about it after and at practice, and how we need to be prepared every night, because we're not good enough to just go out and play the game and win. We have to work hard for our wins, and that's good. But overall, I'm happy. The kids are buying in, and I got a good group of kids here.
Yeah, and the past few years, the team hasn't had the most success in terms of wins, nowhere near close to when this team went out and won the first and only championship in Pilot Mound history. But for the first time in a while, Rick, this team in total is over 500 in the win-loss record column, 7-2-0-2 against CSSHL opponents. So this team is competing, winning games at a higher level than in previous years. What do you think has gone into that in terms of this team getting back to a place where it's near among the top of the standings in the CSSHL?
Well, it started in recruiting. Danny and I worked hard, and Isaac and the crew that were recruiting, we worked really hard to bring in quality people, not only good players, but quality people that would buy in and do and play the kind of the role the way I wanted them to play. And I think they have. Like I said, the chemistry's pretty good in the group, and to be honest, we built our goal from our strong. We have strong goaltending, and very strong defense, and that was where we built our team from, and with some good forwards. So, and I'm going to be honest, we've got a couple pretty high end D-men that I've got on my club that's helped too. So but overall, I credit the team chemistry, the kids working hard, buying in. I haven't had too many troubles off ice. Kids are just willing to work hard and buy in, and it's a little different than I've had in the past. I've had a kind of a range of kids and attitudes and stuff, but we worked hard to bring in a good group of kids.
Yeah, I think you hinted at one of those players there, Rick, and Carson Carrolls, who's been just such a treat to follow and watch this season from the clips that I've been able to see him in Pilot Mound Hockey Academy games. He goes over, represents Team Manitoba at the WHL Cup, helps lead them to their first championship in province history at that tournament. You spoke to me about him when I was writing that blog article on him about how a treat it is to coach him, and players like him don't come around that often. Talk about what his impact has truly been like from what he's been able to do for this U17 team so far this year.
Well, huge part of our club. First of all, outstanding kid. Off the ice, outstanding leader, works hard, makes the players better around him. Just a great kid to have on the team. And on the ice, like I said, these kids don't come around all the time. He's a treat to watch, even at practice. The things he does, sees the ice. I've coached a long time, and I haven't seen many kids with this ability. I have had some, but he is one that he just brings everything to the table: offense, defense. Very, very smart. Commits, 60-minute player, and it rubs off to the rest of the kids. And he is like the other kids look up to Carson on our team. He challenges them every day to be better, and they also see how hard he works and how it's helped him. So that's been a benefit. So yeah, I can't say enough about the kid. He's a great kid, which to me is the most important thing. But he's a hell of a hockey player, and I think he's got a heck of a future ahead of him.
Yeah, and it's looking that way. And I think you bring up something pretty interesting, is that him being such a young age with the team looking up to him, how different is that from what you've coached before? Have you ever been in an experience like that before, when a kid comes in that's younger than the rest, has as much maturity as Carson Carrolls has had to have the confidence he does?
In my past, back in my Pembina Valley days, I've coached some pretty talented guys that went on to play pro hockey that were kind of the same, but they don't come around very often. It's been a while since I've had one like Carson. And I've seen Carson grow up here the last 3 or 4 years, and especially the last 3 years in our academy, going through the U15 program and now jumping into ours. So special player, obviously being a first round draft pick. It's a treat to coach a kid like that. You have to be around him every day and to see the things that he does. He amazes me some nights how he can see guys open that other kids that don't see. And he also, like I said, he makes his defensive partners and the rest of the guys around him better players.
Outside of Carson Carrolls, this team has been able to get players like Jack Perrier and Zane Price and some others from, teams that come before this U17 program in terms of the U15 program. How huge do you think that's going to be moving forward, not only from what you've seen this year, but into the future, to have that reliable stream of players to come through, knowing their games already and being able to implement them into a lineup later on at a higher age group in Pilot Mound?
Yeah, it's very important for all our 3 boys teams. Moving kids from one group to the next, it makes recruiting easier. We want them to stick around, and hopefully each year they're developing and getting stronger. And I've been lucky this year to have 4 or 5 kids move on. Benson Hurst has been another outstanding player that's moved up for me from the U15s. He plays along with Carson and another heck of a hockey player. And Perrier's been another good one, and Sawatsky jumping up as well. And I don't want to miss anybody, but all the kids moving up, it's a huge step, and they learn the process of playing academy hockey, what it's all about. So if they've been through it and then they get to me, we're more or less worried about the hockey aspect and the training, not so much all the other things that go into academy life. So, and again, we want to be able to move, all 3 groups want to be able to move our players up. So that's the big thing.
Yeah, and I mean, players like Perrier, like you said, Hurst have been huge contributors so far this year. Seems like, you got your 11 goal scorers like Carson Carrolls and a player like Zane Price. Then you got your 10 goal scorers like Jack Perrier, Ben Hurst with 8 from the back, and, Jake Brown with 6 for himself right now. And then the list goes on about players with other more multiple goals throughout this season. Talk about how huge it's been to see that depth, that scoring by committee come through so far.
It's important for us. We're getting a lot of scoring from our back end, which is great. I'd like to see a little more from the offense from up front, but it's coming. And like with us, we do score by. I'm not counting on any single guy. All 4 lines, I need guys to contribute in the R. We're getting goals from different lines on different nights, which is important. And teams can't just go out and shut down one line. I know I got Pricer and Hay on a line that we play quite a bit, and they've been around here for 3 years, so I count on them lots. But really, all the kids, I expect them all to come out and produce at the best that they can. And for us to be successful, I'm going to need all guys clicking and chipping in. So that's important for us.
2 games for the upcoming weekend for this Buffaloes team, going up against the Indigenous Sports Academy, a team that this squad has had a chance to play in the past few years since it's become an academy going into the CSSHL. This group of boys have had success against them so far this year. I'm sure they'll be looking fired up, ready to come in to try to knock this Buffaloes team off. What's the mindset, the goal heading into this weekend against a Indigenous Sports Academy team that you know very well?
Yes, we do. We've played them quite a bit, and they're going to be able to get us. They beat us our last game here in Pilot Mound, so we've had success before that. But they're a good club. We always have really good games against them. They're a big club. They're strong at home, so we need to regroup after our game in Winnipeg here, and I'm hoping that we get a good 60-minute effort. We're going to have to use our speed, be quick. And have a good game throughout the lineup. Goaltending, D to forwards, we're all going to have to chip in, but we need to be quick on pucks, be ready to play a 60-minute game, and we should have success up there, as well as staying disciplined. They tend to, in the past anyway, they can get a little undisciplined at times, and I need my power play specialty teams clicking, and that's also an advantage to us if we can stay at the penalty box.
Well, best of luck, Rick, and to the team coming up this weekend against the Indigenous Sports Academy, and hoping to see this Buffaloes team get into the win column at least once. Thanks for doing this, Rick, and best of luck rest of the season coming up.
Okay, thank you.
And Rick McConnell, head coach of the U17s, joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, episode 8, brought to you by Goaltenders, McKenna Fasteners and Tools in Terrico. And yeah, the U17 program hasn't had this much success in a season to start things off since the championship season back in 2019-2020. And for this team, they are 8th place, like mentioned, as mentioned, 7-2-1-0-0-1, ranking 8th place in the U17 Prep League. 46 points, goals for in terms of that, and 33 goals against. And leading this U17 team in points, of course, is a rookie to their squad, not a rookie to the academy, but you know who he is in Carson Carrolls. 25 points in 18 games played. Right behind him, his D partner, and Benson Hurst, 24 games played, 23 points, 15 assists, and 8 goals. Phenomenal starts to their year. Let's see if they can keep it up, and I have a pretty good feeling that they will. But for this U17 team, they will be taking on the Indigenous Sports Academy twice, once on Saturday and once on Sunday, an afternoon game on Sunday, as you can see there. Those will be at Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, at Agri Place in Canland Sports. You can watch all the action there live on Flow Sports. And for Pilot Mound, outside of their academy teams, they are throwing on some camps as well. We'll take a look here. It's the 2015 year age group AAA Spring ID Camp that is running this Sunday from 5 p.m. to 6:15 p.m. at Blackjack Stewart Arena. Amy Ramage and Kurt Fortney, Pilot Mound coaches, will be running this ID camp. For more information, be sure to contact info@pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com. One last thing about the U17s. This video coming courtesy from Pilot Mound Hockey Academy themselves, taking some footage of their road trip down to the Rink Training Center last week to take on the Rink Hockey Academy in a game that Pilot Mound lost 7-3, but take a look at this. This is really cool what they put together. Some really cool shots, some cool angles, and yeah, great job. Hats off to Pilot Mound's social media team on this one coming up. And as we take a look at the upcoming schedule, just a day over the Indigenous Sports Academy and Pilot Mound Hockey Academy U17 male prep weekend, series of two games to be played in Saskatoon starting on Saturday. Of course, the U18s, they have the 14 days off. The U18s beginning their tournament down in Ann Arbor at the Ann Arbor Ice Cube. in just over 12 hours. And of course, the U15 team taking on the SEAC Tigers tonight, which we promised an update for you guys. We are going to see if we can get one now via Pilot Mound, their account on X. But yeah, be sure to catch all the action on all those places: Live Barn, Flow Sports, taking a look at the U18s where you can watch them. Yeah, Live Barn is where you can. Of course, for the U15s on Flow Sports, U17s on Flow Sports. But we'll just take a look if there's been any updates at this point. There hasn't been. So be sure to check out Pilot Mound on their Twitter, or really on their social media, mainly going by the handle of PM Buffaloes. But yeah, we're going to take one last transition here, and I'll be back for some final words on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast on G Show Productions. We made it to the end of this edition of the Buffaloes podcast on G Show Productions, brought to you by Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, Terraco, and Goaltenders. I've been your host, Graeme, the G Show Forsyth. Special thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning in to this one. Special thanks to the guests and Gordie Tumilson, Rick McConnell, and Shaina Bannister for joining this edition of the official Pilot Mound Hockey Academy podcast on G Show Productions. Be sure to check out our website. We will have updates for next week's episode on there, so stay tuned for that. You can also check us out on social media. Handles down below in the description of this one. But next episode will be coming out next week on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Central Time here on YouTube as well as on our website. If you're here watching on our YouTube, thank you for that. Be sure to leave a subscription by hitting the subscribe button. It's free to do, as well as turning on notifications so you don't miss any future uploads here on the network. So yeah, gonna roll our sponsors through here just to show you guys them one more time. Special thanks to them again for sponsoring this one. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the action that you'll be taking in, Buffaloes fans, from wherever you watch your games, whether it's Live Barn or on Flow Sports, out of the three teams that are in action for Pilot Mound. So yeah, I've been your host, Graeme, the G Show Forsyth, wishing you all the best on this weekend. Hope you all have a good one. We'll see you next Thursday, 7 days from now. I'll give you the salute as well as the peace out, and I'll say so long, good night, everybody, on this Thursday night. Tyson Unruh, take us away with the March of the Buffaloes. Take care, everybody.